Welcome back. 315 days after Hurricane Harvey made landfall in Texas, the city of Houston absorbed a 4th of July drenching, which triggered some very tough memories and more than just a little anxiety. While the 6 to 8 inches of rainfall swamped quite a few local streets and roads, water thankfully entered only a few homes. If anything, the heavy weather served as a stinging reminder that we are, for the most part, just as vulnerable to flooding as we were a year ago and need to intelligently invest in infrastructure. There was some comforting news, the designation of $5 billion federal dollars to begin work on a coastal spine and complete critical flood protection work in and around Harris County. Panel, what is your plan? I'm going to start with Tomaro Bell. Is there support out there for the bonds?
Yes, and the weather only affirmed the need for that support, because at this time, the additional work that needs to be done, it is not being done, and it will not be done without this bond. We need this because in this bond, and that's what people keep talking about, oh, it's going out the county. Water don't know no zip codes. It doesn't have any, what they call it, no boundaries. So, I mean, you have to understand, water flows. So the work needs to be done to keep peril from happening. That is why they had to, you got to do the work on the Barker Reservoir, because you got to keep it from coming. So, I mean, not only that, in this bond, for the first time, the county is looking at assisting the city with desperately needed infrastructure projects, because if they get the flow and they get the flow going, and you don't have a way for that surge to go once it comes because the drains are blocked and you can't go this way, you can't go that way, and the little gullies and the little valleys are blocked, then nothing can be done. So when the judge spoke about this at a town hall meeting, he brought that up, and I was very glad to hear that, because if you do all this other stuff but you still can't get the streets, which are other flow ways for water to go, what's the purpose?
Bill King, you're well versed on this issue.
Yeah, so I think there's two issues we're kind of conflating here. The $5 billion is for coastal work, the coastal spine. That's to stop surge flooding from hurricanes. What the bond issue is about upland flooding from rain inundating upland watershed and being able to get that water quickly to Galveston Bay. They're sort of two different issues. On coastal spine, I'm thrilled to see this. You know, this was first conceived on a commission I sat on back in 2008. You know, it's sort of discouraging. It took us 11 years to get around to doing anything about it, but we're finally moving on it. $5 billion is not enough, by the way. We're going to have additional money, or the state's going to have to step up, or we're going to do some kind of local funding. But ultimately, we need to get this thing built.
Bob Price, are you gauging any opposition to this kind of investment?
I haven't seen much opposition to it, and the county's having to do the heavy lifting here because the city keeps squandering the rain fund,
Amen.
The rain tax fund, and spending money that's supposed to be in a lockbox for drainage, spending it on issues like parks and wildlife, park salaries, and other issues non-related to that. One quick thing back on the families issue. The reason they haven't been reunited yet is because you have to prove that that child belongs to that parent. We have multiple reported cases of people bringing children across the border that are in no way related to them whatsoever. I wrote last week about 2 minors who were separated, who were actually not with relatives. They were being trafficked to Minnesota to do forced labor, slavery in the United States. That still continues because we continue to abuse these people. What happens south of the border is the abuse that's going on to these people, not what happens after they get here.
Marcus, you want to move back to the flooding issue?
Well, I just want to move back to the Freudian slip that Bob made, which was the rainy day fund. I just want to bring it up. That's the minute we should talk about. I want to yield to Tomaro. She has something to say.
Yes, because they could have used the ID tracking for the parents when they got them with their children. Look. They use that in the prison system when they arrest you. The first thing they do is give your butt a number. They could have done the same thing, and they could have been able to match them in there. So that excuse that they're using, oh, well, you know, most of these kids are being illegal slaves, that's not true. These are, nobody cries the way those people are hurting because that's not their child. So as a mama, I know that's a piss poor excuse to use.
Okay, I'm going to give Bob rebuttal time.
Okay, we know for a fact that many of these are children of their parents. Let me tell you this, there's not a criminal court judge in the United States that hasn't removed families, separated families, because of the criminal behavior of the parents. Parent actions have consequences. These parents are breaking the law when they come here. There are complications to that, and it's going to take some time to get it resolved.
We're going to talk about this issue many times in the future.
Unfortunately.
Up next, 10.5 months after Harvey wreaked havoc on Harris County, Judge Ed Emmett is making the case for protecting our community from the heavy storms to come. He returns to the Watch Your Point hot seat after the break.